am Rhonda Gilbreth, and I want to welcome you to Primetime in the Library. This is where we come together to share what we're learning, creating, experiencing in and beyond these walls. And it's a collaborative project between the Bethel University Friends Organization, faculty development, and some other offices on campus. So before we get started, I just want to tell you a little preview of what's coming next week in Primetime. On Tuesday, May 2nd, Edgren Scholars Scott Winter, Professor of English and Journalism and Senior International Relations Journalism major Soraya Kaiser will share about the immigration documentary they've been building for more than a year with a team of Bethel and Guatemalan storytellers. And on Thursday, May 4th, Jerian Richardson, Clinical Assistant Professor of Social Work, will share a mental health triage approach for students who disclose anxious or depressive symptoms to assist clinicians about when to seek a higher level of care. Okay, but today we're here to luxuriate in the beautiful art of poetry. And as we begin, I just want to share with you some remarks that were given recently by Ada Limon, who is an award-winning poet who has just been reappointed in her role as the Poet Laureate of the United States. And this is what she says. I think that it's really important to remember that even in this particularly hard moment, divided moment, poetry can really help us reclaim our humanity. I think it's important right now, at a time when so many of us have been numbed to trauma, to grief, to chaos. So many of us have had to compartmentalize in order to live our lives. And we've had to kind of forget conveniently that we are thinking, feeling, grieving, emotional beings. I think through poetry, we can actually remember that on the other side of that is also contentment, joy, a little peace now and again, and that those are all part of the same spectrum. Without one, we don't have the other. Poetry is the place where we can go to break open. But to have that experience, I really truly believe, helps us remember that we're human. And reclaiming our humanity seems like it's really essential right now. So let's reclaim our collective humanity through the gifts of several of our Bethel community members, beginning with Mikaela Taylor, accompanied by Dan Minlas.
Thank you. We'll be starting with a piece called called North, written by Ryan O'Neill, who you might know from the musical group Sleeping at Last. And I came to learn that he wrote this song while building his house that he went on to live in for a while. And I love it because it sets that foundation of reclaiming hope and eternity and wanting to build a foundation that will last a long time. We will call this place our home, the dirt in which our roots may grow. Though the storms will push and pull, we will call this place our home. We'll tell our stories on these walls, every year measure how tall, and just like a work of art, we'll tell our stories on these walls. Let the years we're here be kind, be kind. Let our hearts like doors open wide, settle our bones like wood over time. Give us bread, give us salt, give us wine. A little broken, little new. We are the glue, capable more than we know. We'll call this fixer of her home. With each year our color fades, slowly our paint chips away. But we will find the strength and the nerve it takes to repaint and repaint and repaint every day. Let the years we're here be kind, be kind. Let our hearts like doors open wide, settle our bones like wood over time. Give us bread, give us salt, give us wine. Let the years we're here be kind, be kind. Let our hearts like doors open wide, settle our bones like wood over time. Give us bread, give us salt, give us wine. Smaller than dust on this map lies the greatest thing we have, the dirt in which our roots may grow, and the right to call it home. And now, this is Song of Hope by Thomas Hardy. Oh, sweet tomorrow, after today there will away this sense of sorrow. Let us borrow hope, for a gleaming soon will be streaming, dimmed by no gray. While the winds wing us sighs from the gone, nearer to dawn minute beats bring us, where there will sing us larks of a glory, waiting our story, further anon. Doff the black token and don the red shoon, write and retune viol strings broken, null the words spoken in speeches of ruing. The night cloud is hewing. Tomorrow shines soon. Up next is Katie Friese.
When I was first asked by the lovely Rhonda to do this event, I asked, is there any theme? Is there a vibe? Like, I need a target to shoot for. And I was told there were going to be some other lovely people presenting from a poetry competition where the theme was scars. I was like, okay, I can work with that. And as I was ruminating on scars, the concept of grief came to me, and how hope and joy and striving for the future are all good and wonderful things. That's what keeps me buoyant most days. But as I come upon my senior year and many things are ending, I am also learning that grief must take its time, and grief has to finish its course before those things has to begin. And so in my searching, I found a monologue by Shakespeare from the play Much Ado About Nothing, from the character Leonardo. Much Ado About Nothing, while a comedy, it is primarily a comedy, there are strains of grief throughout it. And in this particular moment, Leonardo has just lost his daughter. She died on her wedding day right before him. So this is him speaking to his brother on grief.
I pray thee, cease thy counsel. which falls unto mine ears as profitless as water in a sieve. Give me no counsel, nor let no comforter delight mine ear, but such a one whose wrongs do suit with mine. Bring me a father that so loved his child, whose joy of her is overwhelmed like mine. And bid him speak of patience. Measure his woe, the length and breadth of mine, and let it answer every strain for strain, as thus for thus, and such a grief for such, in every lineament, branch, shape, and form. If such a one will smile and stroke his beard, bid sorrow wag, cry hem when he should groan, patch grief with proverbs, make misfortune drunk on candle wasters. Bring him yet to me, and I of him will gather patience. But there is no such man, for, brother, men can counsel and speak comfort to that grief which they themselves not feel, but tasting it. Their counsel turns to passion, which before would give perceptile medicine to rage, fetter strong madness in a silken thread, charm ache with air, and agony with words. No. No. 'Tis all men's office to speak of patience to those that wring under the load of sorrow. But no man's virtue nor sufficiency to be so moral when he shall endure the like himself. Therefore give me no counsel. My griefs speak louder than advertisement. Up next is Rebekah Bain.
Good morning, everyone. My name, for everybody who doesn't know me, is Rebekah, and I'm the archivist over at the History Center here at Bethel. And today I wanted to share with you a poem that can be found at the Bethel Archives, amongst many, many others. And our poet's name is Oscar Schilling. He was born in 1877 in Sweden and immigrated to the United States in 1902, where he attended what would later be called Bethel University. And he became a pastor and pastored many churches around the country. At the time when he wrote this poem, he was living in California. Now, he never actually got to go back to Sweden to visit his family again, but he did get to communicate with his parents, with letters, and of course, with poetry. And he wrote many, many poems during his time, hundreds of them, and they were all in Swedish. So this is one of the very few poems of his that has been translated into English. So this is To Father on His 70th Birthday. From the distant shores of the Pacific, from the eldest son far away, this would be a greeting to Father on his 70th birthday. I send it across with the wind. Here it always blows from the west. May the well-meant words reach you, old man in the home in the north. Once we walked side by side on the road in the forest. Once we knelt together in the home to which my thought strays. Once you were big, Father, I little. Your hand was the strong one broad. Your foot then willingly led the way for all the others in our group. So it was in the fields. So it was when the axe was the weapon. The rest of us followed in your steps. We were then young in years. I look back along the road and see you in light as of old. For me, you will always remain the great, the strong one I wish I were. The heart that beats with love gets younger while others grow old. The soul that has iron in its spirit forces its way across the wave. Your life and your life's work shall be measured at rest in the scales of the eternal. He knows you and he judges you with justice and forgets nothing. But it is good to look back on the road one has walked. If faithfulness was the measure and the weight, then I believe you filled your duty. So take my greetings from afar on your 70th birthday, old man. May yet many happy days be given you, as pleases the Lord. Up next, we have Alan Coronado.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Alan Coronado, and I just have a short little poem today. So this poem, a little bit behind the meaning, it's called Spotlight Etiquette, and it's kind of the prologue to some music that I'm writing, but the main point of the poem is basically transparency, kind of contesting the social norm that in professional settings or in regular settings that, everybody should have everything down and packed. You should have everything together. So like, even something like this, just being real with yourself and not faking it through. All right, spotlight etiquette. Sometimes laughing comes in spurs, as often like the summer when it's absent, when the winter has the nerve. When barricading feelings so that no one finds you hurt, it can take away the healing an outsider can affirm. Wake up in the morning, checking my phone instead of checking myself, leaves me begging for help when I could have handled it myself. Practicing this focus left me with better posture for a son or for a daughter, 'cause one day I'll be a father and need to offer what I've seen. Breaking down these walls so that they only need to know kind of what I mean. Everybody's a performer when they step outside, and night becomes day from every spotlight. And in that spotlight, everyone becomes perfect. There's no room to cry or get nervous. The show has no curtains. The globe will rotate, continue turning. I don't believe this etiquette. I'm an emotional wreck and heaven sent. A beautiful mess, nevertheless. So to every creator, we need to contest this negligence. What might seem like competition is actually a war with etiquette. So iron sharpens iron. We have a world to protect and a social norm to change. Our spotlight etiquette. Thank you. I'm not sure who's next. I think Angela, Shannon to announce the award winners. So, yeah.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to participate in this. I want to thank the library for having this celebration of poetry. And I'm going to read a new poem. And then I'll talk a little bit about the jury Healy Poetry Prize. And then we'll have some finalists read their poems. So. Okay. Transfiguration. This thing called body sometimes get in the way. This thing called flesh, called skin and bones, muscle and tissue, this thing sometimes separates us from other bodies, sometimes becomes a barrier, and we may never get to spirit, never see how we, you and I, share the same fabric, the same weavings, the same threads of a quilted soul. We may never see if we look only with our eyes. We may never see how we mirror each other, how we mirror each other. You, my opposite, we may never know how we're connected with this matter of the heart. And a little bit about our poetry award, the Healy Poetry Prize. Gerald Healy, known as Healy, began his career at Bethel in 1955. Yes, 1955. He joined Bethel College, and he joined as an English professor and a basketball coach. Healy helped develop the English education program. He taught many, many literature classes, and he represented the English department across the Midwest. He retired from Bethel 30 years later in 1985. He loved the English language in all its forms, but he especially prized poetry. His family said when Healy was later in years, he kind of lost his memory, but he was able to still recite poems. So when he passed away in 2016, his family decided to honor him with the Healy Poetry Prize. This is our 5th year, and the 2023 finalists for the Healy Poetry Prize will share their work. We have some of them reading today. The theme for this year is Scars, and our finalists are Rachel Blood, Abby Chalmers, Angela Gonzalez, Etlin Oganyo, Merrina O'Malley, and Zoe Vang. I have the pleasure of reading Abby's poem. Is that correct, Abby? Yes, okay. I have the pleasure of reading her poem. I didn't get permission to read Etlin's poem, so you won't hear her poem today, but I believe you'll hear all the other poems by the other poets. So this is Abby Chalmers' poem, Sidewalks and Sink Tops. I want to have scars. I want to feel the cool summer air kiss my cheeks as we run down cracked and crumbling sidewalks in the dark. Our fingers laced together, faster and faster and faster, until one of us takes a tumble, dragging the other along. I love you. I want to sit on the sink top and feel the cold marble against my legs as I painfully pluck out pieces of pavement from my palms and knees. I want to watch drops of blood blossom in the basin as they touch the moving water and swirl down the drain out of sight. I want to bandage your wounds with gauze and gentle hands and all the tenderness in my nerve-bursting heart, hoping that my actions speak the words that my numb lips refuse to form and my timid voice refuses to proclaim. I love you. I want to feel the harsh sting of rubbing alcohol as it burns away the lingering dirt within the crevices of my raw, torn skin. I want no one but you to inflict this pain on me because it's you I embrace. With you, I embrace the hurt. This is love, handing your heart over to another and praying like a devout believer to a chosen deity that they would not crush it underfoot but cradle it instead. I love you. I want scars. I need scars. Scars make it impossible for my skin to ever forget that we were once together, that we hurt and bled in unison. I want to leave an imprint on your body, the vertebrae down, down, down to the deepest abyss within your soul. I stare at my ceiling until dawn whispers of morrow, plagued by the paralyzing fear that you would leave, and all I will have to remember you by are the fading white lines across my hands and knees, nothing more. I love you. I want to intertwine my fingers with yours again, press our palms together and feel the uneven ridges of healing flesh against our mending skin. I want to look at your knees and see the angry red sores that mirror my own and recall our souls one at that moment in time. But I do not want the invisible scars. I do not want to be left with gory, gaping gashes across my mind, the kind that requires grief, stage soldiers, and therapy stitches, agonizing, healing pains that I alone must suffer. I do not want the emotional scars that I must bear without you, the ones that you do not share with me, but the ones you cause. I want your initial hanging from a chain of gold around my neck and your name penned lightly and lovingly over my heart, not your signature scratched into it with a serrated blade. I want scars. I want to share them with you. I beg that you will give me the ones I will cherish and spare the ones that would ruin me. And that's by Abby Chalmers. And our judge this year was Ruben Rivera. He's emeritus VP of DEI and history professor, and he's also an author of a wonderful book of poetry. Our next reader will be Rachel Blood.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my poem called Out of Sight. I think I have bled before, but I can never be quite sure. Someone decided once to make scars a muse, to write songs about how they're beautiful. Medals of honor from eras of war and hurt and betrayal by the cruel, cruel forces of the outside world and the crueler ones buried in their own darkest places. Tiger stripes, they say. But I have no scar across my eye, no arrow through my heel, no jagged stitching on my skin to tell me this was real. Out of sight, out of mind. The pain smells stale, faded in brutal sunlight. Saltwater words are not blood red, and tear tracks never burn my skin. The tightness in my chest won't pierce the rubber holding my bones in, so how are you to know whether I've ever touched the dark? Am I worthy of my pain if it didn't leave a mark? You saw his lightning bolt scar, and you named him the boy who lived. You see smooth and freckled skin, and you name me the girl who gives her scars away next to her heart and time and tears, and now there's nothing left to prove that she was ever really here. She is only smoothed out sorrow and spackled holes in the pores of her skin. Out of sight, out of mind. I wonder what it is like to bleed. And next up we have Angela Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Angela Gonzalez, and this is my poem called Daddy's Scars. What's that scar from, Daddy? He smiles warmly at his child. Well, mija, I was small like you, young and free, back home in El Rancho. I climbed a tree, trying to reach the top. I slipped and fell. This is how I got my scar. The child points to another faint mark. What's that scar from, Daddy? That one is from when I first came here. I was working in the panaderia. Up early in the morning, a teenager baking bread, when the flames gave me a kiss. This is how I got my scar. The child notices a red mark. What's that scar from, Daddy? This is a newer one. From my job. Up, very high. I was using a sharp tool. I cut myself. That is how I got my scar. Did it hurt, Daddy? Only for a bit, but once I got home to my beautiful familia, the pain is gone. I see you all and think, this is why I work hard. This is why I get my scars. And up next is Merrina O'Malley.
Hi, my name is Merrina, and I'll be reading my poem, Put on Your Happy Face. Thorns and roses bit into your palms, biting at my skin, dripping sweet, sappy honey and smiles. The brumal wind wears at my tired veneer of skin, but I smile and put on my summer sunglasses and drink my snake oil tea. You must grin, they say, and suffer it. Bite the bullet, they say, and the wound will bleed. Keep your faith, they say, but where was God when the days turned gray? Next we'll be having Zoe Vang read.
Hi everyone, my name is Zoe, and I'll be reading my poem, So I Put a Band-Aid Over It. I woke up one morning with a gut feeling. I got ready and went to the shop I always eyed, on the corner of the street, right next to the St. Paul Library. I don't remember who I saw when I got inside. I only remember looking through the pages of tattoo inspos. The religious pages had a bunch of Virgin Marys and Buddhas, just like you said. Everything in the parlor's lobby still managed to remind me of you, even though I knew you would never step foot in it. I don't remember who carved it on the underside of my wrist. I only remember instructing them to make it small, since you would never ask to see it. And up next, we have Barrett Fisher.
My younger brother and I are both men of a certain age. So recently our talk turned to mortality, and a line from this poem occurred to me, and that's why I want to read it. It's Robert Frost's Birches. When I say birches bend to left and right across the line of straighter, darker trees, I like to think some boy has been swinging them. But swinging doesn't bend them down to stay, as ice storms do. Often you must have seen them, loaded with ice a sunny winter morning after rain. They click upon themselves as the breeze rises and turn many-colored as the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. Soon the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells, shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. Such heaps of broken glass as sweep away, you think the inner dome of heaven had fallen. They are dragged to the withered bracken by the load, and they seem not to break, though once they are bowed so low for long, they never right themselves. You may see their trees arching in the woods years afterwards, trailing their leaves on the ground like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. But I was going to say, when truth broke in with all her matter of fact about the ice storm, I should prefer to have some boy bend them as he went out and in to fetch the cows. Some boy too far from town to learn baseball, whose only play was what he found himself, summer or winter, and could play alone. One by one, he subdued his father's trees by riding them down over and over again until he took the stiffness out of them, and not one but hung limp. Not one was left for him to conquer. He learned all there was to learn about not launching out too soon and so not carrying the tree away clear to the ground. He always kept his poise to the top branches, climbing carefully with the same pains you use to fill a cup up to the brim and even above the brim. And then he flung outward, feet first, with a swish, kicking his way down through the air to the ground. So was I once myself a swinger of birches, and so I dream of going back to be. It's when I'm weary of considerations and life is too much like a pathless wood, where your face burns and tickles with the cobwebs broken across it, and one eye is weeping from the twigs having lashed across it open. I'd like to get away from earth for a while, and then come back to it, and begin over. May no fate willfully misunderstand me and half grant what I wish and snatch me away not to return. Earth's the right place for love. I don't know where it's likely to go better. I'd like to go by climbing a birch tree and climb black branches up a snow-white trunk toward heaven, till the tree could bear no more, but dipped its top and sent me down again. That would be good, both going and coming back. One could do worse than be a swinger of birches. Next up, Carl Albiing.
I'm Carl Albiing from the Math Computer Science Department, but also a member of the International Programs Committee here at Bethel, and thus this poem seemed quite appropriate. It's Life is to Travel by Hans Christian Andersen. I will attempt it first in Danish and then the English version. Der lev at reise, forstanierne si have, groen en ver en plet. Der reise at leve, blodet rulleret. Solden kalder, blomste dufte, milde sommervinde lufte. Ut, ja ut, vi selet heise, der liv at reise. Life is to travel. Spring fog lifts to reveal verdant scenes. To travel is to live. Blood flows lightly, the sun calls, blossoms perfume the mild summer winds. Out, yet out, yes, out. Set sail. Life is to travel. Thank you. Next up is John Connerton with a song.
This is great. I get to be compared with all these great poets and Shakespeare. And this song is from fresh from the oven. I just finished it this week, and my wife gave approval. Our cat, I don't think she cared. She just wanted her food dish filled. But Rhonda said I could keep my library privileges if I did a song this year. So it's called Names. I used to put so much time in every day, telling myself over and over and over everything was okay. Till I lost the controls and I figured out I had to cast free from all this superstructure I built all around me. It all caught fire, I was going down in flames. Then something changed, I heard you calling me names. Beautiful names. Chosen. Now what does that mean? Chosen? Beloved, sure you feel that way? Blessed, right now I don't feel blessed. These are just a few of the names I heard you say. Names, beautiful names. I said, I don't feel like these names quite fit me. He said, that's okay. I said, maybe give me a little time to work on this and make a few adjustments and then come back and we can talk. You said, no way. All the agreements and deals I tried to wrangle, but all my twisting and turning kept getting me more tangled. It all went dark, I couldn't even pray. Through the storm I heard you say, names, beautiful names. But if you're gonna keep on calling me names, well, I guess the two can play that game. So here's some names I'd really like to say. Beautiful Savior, God of all creation, Son of God, Son of Man, glory and honor, praise, adoration, to my soul's glory, joy, and crown. Jesus, my beautiful Savior, Redeemer, lover of my soul. Jesus, my beautiful Savior, my shepherd and my friend. Names. All these beautiful names. David Stewart is now going to read a poem.
Thank you, John. I don't have any scars to show, but I did twist my knee yesterday when I was walking around Coma Lake, so that'll be my equivalent. The longer I work in higher ed, the more I appreciate brevity. How about that? So I'm going to give you two extreme examples. At one end of the spectrum, the poetry of Brian Bilston, who writes a lot of stuff for Twitter. And here's a poem by him called The Day Twitter Went Down. The day I got things done, I went for a long run, I played ping pong, I wrote a song, it got to #1. That day I did a lot. I tied a Windsor knot, I helped the poor, I stopped the war, I read all of Walter Scott. Oh, what a day to seize. I learned some Cantonese. I led a coup. I climbed K2. I cured a tropical disease. That day, I met deadlines. I got crowned King of Liechtenstein. I stroked a toucan. I found Lord Lucan. And then Twitter came back online. The other end of the spectrum, and for those of you who've been here for a few years, this is a kind of from the highlight reel. There was a poet in the Victorian era in Britain who was either famous or notorious, depending on how you look at it. His name was William Topaz McGonagall, and he epitomizes the word prolific. He couldn't help himself. He just couldn't stop writing, even though most people agree that his poetry was dreadful, heroic scale. He's been referred to as the worst poet who ever wrote in any language at any time. Let me give you an example. He wrote a book called Poetic Gems. He wrote another book called More Poetic Gems. A third called Still More Poetic Gems. A fourth, or is it a fifth? I'm losing track. Yet More Poetic Gems. Further poetic gems, and then yet further poetic gems. And his last book was called Last Poetic Gems. So, and I have here a critical edition of his works. And I solemnly promise that if the library doesn't have a copy, shame on me, and I will buy a copy and add it to the library. So he had a particular affinity for disaster stories. He wrote a lot of poems about bridge collapses and fires, and another favorite theme of his was attempted assassinations. It turns out that on the 2nd of March, 1882, a Scotsman tried to assassinate Queen Victoria at Windsor Castle. And 10 years later, he wrote a poem about that. So I'll read it to you. The Attempted Assassination of the Queen by William Topaz McGonagall. God prosper long our noble queen, and long may she reign. McLean, that was the name of the assassin. McLean, he tried to shoot her, but it was all in vain. For God, he turned the ball aside. McLean aimed at her head, and he felt very angry because he didn't shoot her down. There's a divinity that hedges a king, and so it does seem. And my opinion is it has hedged our most, gracious queen. McLean must be a madman, which is obvious to be seen, or else he wouldn't have tried to shoot our most beloved queen. You got it. I can see you're tracking carefully. Victoria is a good queen, which all her subjects know. And for that, God has protected her from all her deadly foes. She is noble and generous. Her subjects must confess. There hasn't been her equal since the days of good Queen. Thank you, Barrett. Beautiful. Long may she be spared to roam among the bonny highland floral and spend many a happy day in the palace of bingo. because she is very kind to all the women there and allows them bread, tea, and sugar, and each one get a share. And when they know of her coming, their hearts feel overjoyed. Because in general, she finds work for men that are, yes, magic. And she gives the gypsies money while at Balmoral, I've been told. And mind you, seldom silver, but very often gold. I hope that God will protect her by night and by day, at home and abroad when she's far away. May he be as a hedge around her as he's been all along, and let her live and die in peace is the end of my song. Thank you. William McGonigal. Rhonda?
Thank you, David, for that humorous moment. I'm going to end our time together by reading a couple poems. The first one is by a woman named Gwen Westerman. She is the Minnesota Poet Laureate. She is a multi-talented scholar, artist, and poet, and she teaches at Minnesota State Mankato. She is of Dakota and Cherokee heritage. And before I begin to read this poem, I just want to explain that the word wopida means giving thanks or gratitude. And this is called the Giveaway Song. This is my giveaway, not because I don't want it anymore, not because it's out of style or broken or useless since it lost its lid or one of its buttons, not because I don't understand the value of things. This is my giveaway because I have enough to share with you, because I have been given so much health, love, happiness, pain, sorrow, fear, to share from the heart in a world where words can be meaningless when they come only from the head. This is my giveaway, to touch what is good in you with words your heart can hear, like ripples from a pebble dropped in water, moving outward, growing wider, touching others. You are strong. You are kind. You are beautiful. This is my giveaway. Wopida ye, wopida ye, wopida ye. And finally, I'm going to end with a poem by Ada Limon, and it's called Instructions on Not Giving Up. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains, it's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets, leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath. The leaves come, patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us. A return to the strange idea of continuous living, despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say. A new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for all who contributed.